concept of cause and effect is fundamental to all of us who study this science of mind, religious science. So during the month of March, we have been reflecting each week upon a state of consciousness, which has an invisible cause to bring about the visible effect, right? The cause is always invisible because it's thought, it's feeling, it's all of these intangibles. And if you remember, life does not happen to us. Life happens through us. And that's such a very important line to remember. Life doesn't happen to us, it happens through us. So just a slight shift in words gives us power over our own lives, which we all have. So that we're on the same page then, what do I mean by a state of consciousness? You've heard that. What does it mean? Oh, I believe that consciousness is an accumulation, a combination of thoughts, of beliefs, of feelings, of values, of all kinds of aspects of ourselves that make up who we truly are. That is our consciousness. It's all of those things into one. That's a state of consciousness. And so there are 3 states of consciousness that we have explored this month already. Trusting, surrendering, and feeling. And today we're going to understand and explore a little bit about blessings. So it's all about blessings today. And I once read a book. I read a book that was filled with really inspirational and I think important information for ministers. Giving sermons, how to give a good sermon. So one of the points said that a really good sermon is similar to a really good sandwich. And it has 2 ends, right? A rich, robust bread, and it could have lots of juicy, succulent meat in the middle, and if you're a vegetarian, it has those ripe, nutritious, wonderful vegetables. That's the middle. So, however, unlike a sandwich, a really good sandwich, the 2 ends of a sermon, okay, this is a sermon, so the 2 ends of a really good sermon should come closer together as possible. So it could still have all that juicy stuff in the middle. You get what I'm hinting at here? A little shorter. So a really good sermon doesn't have to be a big, long, drawn-out hoagie, let's just say. You know, it could be like a nice, flat, 7-grain grilled cheese. Still have that good stuff.
Flatbread?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that I certainly do not always follow that short, but I like to I don't want to lose my audience, so I like to see aliveness. So I plan to have a talk that's really juicy and succulent and all those wonderful things in the middle, but maybe today we'll have it a little brief because we're having our traditional, and no one remembers it, but it's traditional. This is our 3rd year of doing this, our traditional Palm Sunday rose blessing ceremony at the end of my talk. So that's why I'm making it a little briefer. And I want to prepare the way. That's why I'm making it brief, is to prepare the way for this blessing ceremony. Preparing the way, of course, is really significant today because today is Palm Sunday, and Palm Sunday preceded and gave way to Easter, which is next week. It was the events of that day that prepared for the way of the resurrection. The resurrection. So this morning I'm going to prepare the way for our resurrection of consciousness. I always love that. So I always love Palm Sunday because it's all about the resurrection of consciousness. And I just explained to you what consciousness is. It's everything about yourself. Our expansion of life, our forward movement into a greater degree of livingness. Let's live life with all that gusto. And we'll have a few words about the blessing to become, which is the name of this talk, right? Blessing to become makes no sense, but it will when I finish. Blessing, which is the invisible cause, right? You can't see a blessing, so it's the invisible cause, or a state of consciousness to become. To become what is visible manifestation in the world. blessing to become. And what does that really mean? Well, here's a statement to think about that I really like. Each of us is in the process of becoming that which we already are. Well, what are we really, spiritually? We're expressions of God, are we not? We're children of the divine. So what does that mean? We're children of the divine, made in the image and likeness of God. We're made in the image and likeness of God, right? And that image and likeness of God is our true nature, the infinite essence of who we are. So we are love, we are peace, we are joy, we are infinite possibilities, we are vitality, we are all of those things, we are wholeness. We are all of those things. We're dynamic, radiant, filled with vitality, dynamic vitality. And that's the truth of who we are. That's the essence of who we are. That's our true self that is forever becoming more of itself, and it is the eternal part of us because it can't die. That's our true self, and that's what we're talking about. It's that life force that runs through us. But do we always express those things? Do we always walk around in those states of absolute joy? Of course not. I don't. You know, there are times where, life happens. Things take place in life. And sometimes we're in that place of frustration, of anger, of worry, resentment, fear, all of those. I mean, we all are. We're having a human experience. Is how we expand, by the way, which is a whole nother talk. That's how we expand our consciousness, is by going through those things. So I pose to you this morning this very act of blessing. Blessing that which you believe has caused you frustration. That about which you might still have some anger, worry, fear, or resentment. If you still have that in you. That which you judge or blame. That which you might have petty feelings for. The very act of blessing, these outer things, will cause you to awaken within you the spiritual truths. It's true. I do it. I know it's true. And you feel better when you're blessing something unwanted. Just knowing it's happening for your highest good, whatever that is, and just blessing. And just blessing it. I send that person or that situation, send them a blessing, instead of being in the anger and the resentment. So when we bless a thing, a person, or an event, or circumstance, particularly those things, persons, or circumstances which are not showing up in the world exactly how we might like them to be, because that happens sometimes, we call forth within us, by doing this, we call forth within us the peace, the love, the joy, the abundance, the wholeness, that dynamic, radiant vitality. We call it forth because it's in us. And it will just stay dormant unless we activate it. And that's what we're here for. That's why we're blessing people. That's why we're in these studying these spiritual truths. That's why we're doing it, so that we can become more of what we really are. We're always expanding more of who we really are. So we bless. Particularly we bless those, as we do bless those difficult situations, circumstances, people, we become more. We have to become more. We're expanding by doing that. And I want to be really clear here, because it does not call us to a deeper level of joy, of peace, of wholeness, when situations that we are happy with, we bless. And I'm not saying don't do that, bless everything, it's all good. But it doesn't take us further. We don't become more. We stay in a very good vibration, by the way, so it's a good thing to do. However, what I'm saying is it is not enough. It is not enough. If you want to become that which you were really meant to be, that which you already are, actually, we must bless it all of it. The messy, the neat, the kind, the unkind, or the good, the bad, and the ugly, we just bless it all. We bless it. In order for us to expand and become more of that which we are, perhaps there is some forgiveness work to do. It could be the highest form of forgiveness, really the absolutely highest form of forgiveness is to bless, to send or to hold a blessing for all the things that you might not be happy with in your life. Bless them anyway. They will serve you by that blessing. And remember, we must forgive everyone all the time. All the time. And forgiveness always frees us to experience more of who we truly are. Because when we hold on to those resentments and that unforgiveness, that's when we block the flow of life. That's when we block the good of God from our lives. Holding on to those feelings that are, first of all, vibrationally very low, and they stop the whole life force. They block it. We're energy beings, and that kind of energy of resentment, of worry, of unforgiveness blocks us from really getting in touch with the God self within us. And so personally, I've done a lot of forgiveness work my whole life. I've done a lot of, maybe not the first 30 years, but after that, when I decided that I didn't want to play the old tape, maybe 40 years. Okay. I didn't want to play that old tape anymore. I still had another 10 years of getting to the place of really? Really, God? I have to really forgive her? Yes. So my work is done. You know, I teach the radical forgiveness class, get all every year Carol May and I teach that radical forgiveness class, and it's all forgiven. Wrong. Wrong, because stuff comes up. Stuff will always be coming up. And so for the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of forgiveness work. I've been forgiving the divorce, forgiving myself, forgiving my former husband, and then forgiving the lawyers, right? Let's not forget about the lawyers. I'm not giving lawyers a bad rap, but I got to tell you, my first lawyer, I did more forgiveness work on him than I did my former husband. That is the truth. That is the God's honest truth. And God, I only had to go through that for 2 months. You know, and then I changed lawyers. But it's always, we have to let go and let God. You know, if we really want to live a life that is fulfilling, that's filled with all of those wonderful qualities that are already within us, we got to let go. We got to let God. We got to forgive. So New Thought leader Emmett Fox, who we love, once wrote in his discussion of the Lord's Prayer, if our prayers are not being answered, check to see what needs to be forgiven. Always will be something. Remember, here's how you know. Here's how you know if you have completely forgiven. And this is really true. So take this into your consciousness. This is when you know, because people say, well, I don't know if I really forgave fully or not. You know when the situation, the person, the circumstance, the event, when they can pass through your mind unharmed, then you know that you have truly forgiven. Otherwise, you know, we're not even going to go into that dark place. But when they move through our thinking and we're just blessing and letting go, then we know we're fully forgiven. And as I have already said, there is no higher form of forgiveness than blessing. Than blessing. What better way to heal than to bless? It's a great way of healing. And that's what we do. That's what we're going to do today as part of our rose blessing ceremony, which is a really cool thing. And we're going to do that today. So for now, I want us to check into our hearts. Just check into your hearts for a moment. And this, in the next few moments, make a conscious decision to forgive. Because yes, forgiveness is a choice, in case we didn't know that. It is a choice. It is a decision that we can make or not make. It's up to you. How do you want to live your life? But remember, the forgiveness frees us. It frees us to become more of who we really are. And always, always we forgive for ourselves. I know we hear this, but it's the truth. We do the forgiveness work for ourselves. So if you are challenged in letting go, in that whole letting go department, remember that April 2nd we are having a radical forgiveness class. For those of you who seem to be a little stuck and would like a little guidance, we have a sign-up sheet in the back. Make sure you put your name on it. So in the daily devotional in Science of Mind magazine a few years ago, there was an article written by Reverend Dr. Linda McNamara, and she said, I liked this, "We are designed to learn from unforeseen circumstances, but we must do the work in consciousness. That work does not require effort, just clear intention, release, and sometimes forgiveness. We are not defined by our previous experiences or our current circumstances. We are defined by what is within us. What is within us? And we know that by how we feel. We talked about that last week. And so in this rose blessing ceremony, the rose symbolizes, as most of us know, our recognition that the human is immersed in the divine. It symbolizes love. But for today, it's going to symbolize the divine love that is within us and is, say without us, is everywhere, is omnipresent. There is no place that God is not. There is no place. So we're gonna deepen into the all-embracing circle of divine love. And we recognize today that each one of you comes forth from God. Each one comes forth from God. That each one of you is a divine creation, a divine expression. And the wholeness in the very being, the very life, the very essence of who you are is truly that you are made in God's image. And what's God's image? Love, peace, joy, wholeness. So in this moment, it will be a defining moment for each and every one of you, because in this moment, you publicly pledge to allow your Christ light to shine. That's what we're going to be doing. In this public moment, yet within the privacy of your own hearts, hold it in your heart. I invite you to commit to yourself and to God that you will no longer allow fear and resentment and anger and unforgiveness and lack and limitation and other false beliefs to rule your life. Whoa! Letting it go, just for now, letting it go, and hopefully for a long time, letting go. From this moment forward, I invite you to commit to allowing God to express, Spirit to express, fully and freely through you. And let it be your choice to align yourself with the divine principles and the divine principles of peace, happiness, and abundance. Why not? Let us align ourselves with that, because it's the truth of who we really are. Ernest Holmes, in this thing called You, wrote, "The spirit within me makes all things new. Every negative thought or condition is now erased from my experience. I am aware of my union with good. I am conscious of my oneness with life. I expect more prosperity, more happiness, more harmony than ever before. I walk in the joy of ever increased good." And so now, we're going to, well, in a moment, we're going to have the rose ceremony, but I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to have Patty come forward right now. Yeah, and we're going to, yes, we're going to have the rose ceremony now.